Life in a world that keeps changing. Think that it's progress you're making. Copy and paste pretty faces all the time. Pictures so perfect we play.
Hello everyone, welcome to Anointed Lady TV, the home of news and politics. If it is your first time in this channel, you are highly welcome. Thank you so much for stopping by. And if you like what we do on this channel, hit on the subscribe button. Also put on the notification bell so you'll be notified by YouTube anytime we drop a new video. And if you are returning subscribers, thank you very much for always coming back to watch our videos. On this platform, we drop videos every day and we react to every video that come our way. And on this very video, I will be watching with you. And after watching, let's go to the comment section and drop our opinion constructively. Like our videos and also share our videos if possible. See you next time in my next video.
Are still bringing up this conspiracy theory that Bola Ahmed Tinubu, president-elect, is probably a strange creation that is neither Nigerian nor Guinean and its own. What is your advice?
Well, thank you very much. This issue is a little, I think it's a hype right away, because I may ask, I've seen the petitions, especially that of Labour Party, and it's not an issue in the petition. And I'm sure it's not an issue or a ground in the petition presented by former Vice President. Therefore, the argument is if it's not a ground in either of the petitions, the argument will be more an academic exercise or a hype. But assuming it's a ground of a petition, the position of the law, the confusion arose because of the conflicting judgments of the Federal High Court. Crystal clear. A person who has acquired citizenship by naturalization or registration cannot contest for president in Nigeria. But a person who is born by birth in Nigeria but acquires citizenship of another country, for instance, America, that was what was contained in that judgment. It has a right to contest election. There is no appeal to the Supreme Court to reverse that judgment. And that judgment was followed again by Justice Onyangi in 2014, the case of Labour Party. The same way, if you are born by birth in Nigeria and acquire citizenship of another country, it cannot be a bar for you to contest an election. So those judgments are valid, and they seem to be the interpretation of the Constitution in Nigeria as of now. Therefore, it will be strange if we bring down the issue that the winner of the election, Senator Ahmed Tinubu, His Excellency, has another citizenship. You must prove first that he's not a Nigerian by birth. That is the first challenge. If you prove that, you cannot bring the issue that he's acquired another citizenship. If you prove that he was a Nigerian by naturalization or registration, then you can succeed to say he has acquired another citizenship. But in the absence of any other evidence to prove that he's not a Nigerian by birth, it will be extremely difficult. Because at the moment and the time he filled the form and submitted, if he had that dual citizenship, but he was born by birth in Nigeria, the judgment of the Court of Appeal gave him the lead way to do. Even if it's reversed by the Supreme Court, it will not affect an act which has already been done and completed. To a valid judgment which gave an interpretation in that manner.
Mr. Ondwaka, another part of this matter, beyond, and thank you very much for explaining it and just detailing the fact that it's a non-issue, if I use the layman's terms. But another aspect of this matter is the fact that he might have perjured, because in his EC9 form, where he declared that he hadn't taken on voluntary citizenship of another country, he had indicated no. Could this be a matter, even though there's that question around who can prosecute, who can take up the matter, and would there be a willingness to do so in this case of a president-elect?
Well, if you did that, that is perjury. And the state is at the liberty of the state to do what? But mind you, if no action is taken before 29 of May, he will have the immunity, and he cannot be prosecuted. But that perjury is not a ground of a petition, because our position is clear. The grounds of a valid petitions are contained in the Constitution and the Electoral Act. And I want to point out to you that if a ground exists in the Electoral Act which is in conflict with the ground specified for qualification or disqualification in the Constitution, that of the Electoral Act will have no moment. Of course, the Electoral Act has not introduced any other ground except the grounds and requirements of qualification and disqualification contained in the Constitution. Therefore, perjury is not there, so there's nothing you can do about it. And let me also go further to the issue of criminality. The criminality specified in the Constitution relates to a period which involves dishonesty, relates to a period of 10 years. Even if you are convicted in a Nigerian court or anywhere. And once you are not serving a jail term, that is, if you are serving a jail term, the 10-year grace is not applicable to you because you cannot come from prison to be a president. Constitution says if you are serving a jail term and it's more than 10 years, you still be in a jail, you can't contest president. But if your conviction, after the conviction, 10 years has elapsed, you can still contest in the Nigerian election. Because if you go, you cannot expand anything that is specified in the Constitution that as a requirement for contesting an election of a presidential level or any election conducted by INEC. You cannot subtract anything from disqualification. That is the position of the law. When the Constitution specifies condition precedent, you cannot come and introduce another extraneous matter. It must be there. If there's a disqualification specified in the Constitution, you cannot add. So perjury is not one of the grounds there. I'll give you an instance. People were being disqualified on the ground of not paying tax. Let me add another thing.
Yes,
if
sir.
you go for trial, and tomorrow the president says, I give him pardon, there's nothing. So sometimes prosecutors will be blamed, especially the Office of Attorney General will be blamed, but we also, in the course of process, we look at the environment. Because this office operates within a difficult terrain. You are dealing with politicians. And you have gone and got a conviction on perjury. Tomorrow the president says, I have pardoned him. There's nothing you can do about it. So
Okay.
sometimes you think that initiating certain action of this nature may be futile. You may not be able
Okay.
to succeed.
Okay.
But that does not mean I say people should not follow the law.
Okay, so Mr. Adwaka, two things I'd like you to state. Take us through the procedures of how perjury goes. Enlighten us more for the sake of public knowledge.
Perjury-
No, secondly.
Perjury is an escape.
No, I have not
It's
finished
a-
asking my question, sir.
Yes.
Also, I want you to talk about the pick and choose that we see in public dispensation of justice. The fact that if cases concern people that don't wield power, it is fast-tracked and accelerated. But if it concerns people that wield power, what you just said now could apply. The fact that when you even put up the case and it goes through trial track and be elongated and the likes and all of that. And also, I want you to also make a clarification and distinction between public morality and the ecosystem we live in Nigeria. The fact that a top candidate that finally eventually became president-elect didn't deem it fit to make a declaration of the fact that he hitherto had another passport, which is not a big deal, which is not against the law, in his form. That's a case of public morality. I know, yes, that might not hold water in the logicality of the law, but that's a case of public morality and public perception, which you cannot discount from societal ecosystem, because you said just now that court cases also have a look and feel of societal factors.
Well, thank you very much. Certainly, the issue of morality comes in. I will not deny that fact. It's a very big burden on society.
Morality is not law.
To see we leaders appear to violate the law. But you can see there's a presumption in law of a person is adjudged not to be guilty until he's proven. If you say that SCÁङ T3R commences and he's convicted, I have agreed with you on the issue of the burden of morality. But I also have shown you the constitutional provision that we have to take the morality, if we have to take the morality to enforce into law, we must follow this. And the thing is that we arraign the person to court, the person take his plea, and if he says he is now guilty, then we have to bring evidence. Trial will go normally, and there will be conviction. It is expected. Speedy trial is the expectation of the whole country. But I pointed out the shortage of judges, the condition in which they live. You go to the Federal High Court now, or State High Court, perjury is an offense that is ought to be prosecuted by the police because of the recent decision of the Supreme Court. It's a state offense. Of course, that means the perjury was committed within the area of Federal Capital Territory, so it has to go to the State High Court. And you go to one of the courts, you see courts list 29 cases. And then cases are called based on seniority. Sometimes it's not the fault of the prosecutor. The prosecutor will be a young lawyer. He goes there with the facts, ready to prosecute. Senior counsels come in, call the case out of order, because that is the procedure. If the most senior advocate will call his case. If he has 20 cases, he will finish his cases before any other person. By the time this is done, you will discover that time has lapsed. Adjournment will be granted. This is occurring as a result of inadequate staffing of the judiciary. Because the manpower, judges ought not to have more than 5 cases on the court list, but you could see 29 cases. So such adjournments derail justice. And these are some of the things most of us have been advocating. Increase the number of judges for service delivery. A judge should not have more than 5 cases. Perception is there. Cannot doubt about that. Perception is there. And that is the thing that the public is complaining in everything. Mind you, when I came here on your channel before, I said something which the public has been yearning. And I say this is the time the judiciary and everybody involved in administration should look at it. Take, for instance, in the case of electoral matters. Our attitude has been to scrutinize the outcome of the result. This person scored this number. This person scored this number. And therefore, infraction that occurs are targeted on the result, who had the majority. But the main corruption that occurs in the electoral process is refusal to follow the procedure that leads to that result. And that is why at that time, that is what the public is yearning. Nobody will complain about an election if the procedure leading to those results that produce the majority result, which became the winner, and the procedure is followed. Nobody will complain. That if you see all the complaint has been that the procedure that's supposed to be done like this is not done. All the elections you have in the cases, the complaint may not necessarily be the overall result. But when we go to court, the target is that prove whether this result is correct or it is not, or this person scored more, forgetting that the main corruption is within the foundation which those results occurred. This is why it goes to the perception you are talking about. That is the perception that things should be done right. In criminal trial, the perception is that everybody should be equal within the law, and it.
Yeah, I just wanted to intervene.
Sorry, sir?
I wanted to intervene at this point. You brought up the issue of your last conversation with Arise News, which became controversial because you had cause to say you were misinterpreted. And I just want you to give us the opportunity for you to clarify your position with regard to 25%, whether you need it in 36 states
and
the federal capital. No, just a moment, sir. Just a moment. You know, I just want you to offer us very strong clarification. We have tried to, state what you said and to correct it. But you are here, so you have a chance. As for the issue about morality, well, with due respect, as you know, morality is not law. And so that's why the courts are always at variance with public perception, because the courts don't deal with morality. They deal with the technical details. Over to you.
Thank you. I never even in any way said morality is law. My previous interview with you also, I told you morality is not law. And I think we are all talking the same thing. Come to my interview. First, I never said ought not to be. You asked me whether there were going to be problems. And I say, yes, there will be problems. And already there are problems. Once a petition is filed, it's a problem. It's a legal problem that has to be resolved by the parties. And I came to the issue of construction of and in between the issue of federal capital, the and there. And I laid the foundation and I said, look, directly in the interpretation of that particular section, which had in between the long sentence and the shorter sentence, has not been done directly, but it has been done in similar other cases. For instance, the issue of corrupt practices and non-compliance has been interpreted. And the interpretation of that and which joined corrupt practices and non-compliance was that it ought to be conjunctive. So that and has been interpreted. If you don't take that interpretation and fit into what is specified in the Constitution, wing to third of the Federation and federal capital, the law, if you take that interpretation which the Supreme Court gave in 2006 to that and which joins corrupt practices and non-compliance and held to be conjunctive, that may be possible in case of that interpretation of the Constitution. Because the and has joined wing to thirds of the Federation with federal capital, and you cannot do disjunctively. If you do disjunctively, it will lead to absurdity. But if you construct it conjunctively, it will make a meaning. That was what I said. And I'm still saying it. I've not changed that. I say, going to me, and my personal opinion, since that and in corrupt practices and non-compliance in the Electoral Act of 2000, which was interpreted in 2000, use that and to be conjunctive to make a meaning of the issue of corrupt practices and non-compliance. That means corrupt practices is at the same, and non-compliance are interpreted to be conjunctive. They follow together.
I get your interpretation.
So,
the difference between...
And now, if you see, Supreme Court has not yet made a definite pronouncement on that and in between that section of two-thirds and two-thirds of the Federation and federal capital. Supreme Court or none of the courts have made a definite pronouncement on that. And if they have not made, I don't see how they will not follow the decision they gave that and in non-compliance, in corrupt practice and non-compliance should be conjunctive. Okay. But maybe they can say it's disjunctive when it's applicable to the Constitution.
Okay.
Apart from that, there are also other rules of interpretation which I don't know which one. And I said also that Supreme Court has a right not to follow its own previous decision. They can deviate it. The issue is there going to be a problem? I said there's a problem. And now with me and Arise here, there's a problem because various people have filed a petition. That is the problem. Okay. There's another question I was asked, whether it's non-transmission or result will be a problem. I say it's a problem because INEC rules have constitutional flavor. So if you make rules, you ought. And the Supreme Court decision that says it was a case of CPCs, So Supreme Court's high officials have a duty. They are duty bound to obey their own guidelines. And if they do not obey the guidelines, it's a violation of the electoral and the constitution on the grounds of fair election. That's what I say.
Okay, sir, I get your point.
Thank you for giving that opportunity.
Yeah, sir, I get your point about what is disjunctive, what is conjunctive, and the rules of interpretation. I understand all of that. But for clarity purposes, are you saying categorically that Bola Ahmed Tinubu does not need to score 25% of the votes in the Federal Capital Territory? I guess that's how the ordinary person will understand it.
And I'm not saying that. And I'm saying that an opportunity has come again for the Federal Court for the court to give a direct interpretation of that and, which is in between 2/3 of the Federation and Federal Capital. If they say it is disjunctively, it means he does not. But if he say it's conjunctively, then the meaning will be otherwise. But apart from these two rules, there's also mischief rules which the court can override what I'm saying and try to look at what is the purpose that is going to happen, what is the mischief. And I also mentioned to you that Supreme Court is a court of policy and law too, so they may look at other things differently. This is the position. But that's
Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Good day, my brothers and sisters, my mummies and my daddies over there. Is your sister again, your doctor, your friend, your girl, Anointed Lady TV. Please, if today is your first time of coming across my YouTube channel, please do subscribe for me. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell. So each time I upload any video, you will be notified. So in this my channel, I will be bringing up many things to you in which you will benefit from it. I do talk show, I do news, anything you want to talk about, I am into it. Please subscribe and turn on the notification bell. So each time I upload any video or each time I'm on live on YouTube, you will be notified. Thank you very much for always being there for me. Please do subscribe for me, and as you do so, God will richly bless you and meet your heart desire. Thank you very much. I love you all.